So in this video of the knee pain coaching program, I'm going to show you a few things you can do to help your knee maintain the motion. And part of this, the first part, I'll just assume that you have a fresh injury. So what usually happens is when you go to stand up, that we talked about in a previous video, you may notice that you can't extend the knee all the way back. Some people even have hyperextension, which is fairly normal as long as you don't have too much. But you'll notice that it stays kind of stiff, so when you walk, it stays bent. So one thing that we find that works really well, and all you need is possibly 2 chairs, maybe 1 chair if you only have 1 chair, and you can put your leg on the floor, this would still work. But if you have 2 chairs, you're gonna bring 1 foot and your leg across the chairs. You want to create enough of a gap. So this would be the maximal gap, meaning I have lots of space from where I'm sitting to where my heel is just on the chair. At first, you may start off much closer, so there's not as much of a gap. You'll find that the knee might not want to straighten. Now we want to do everything as safe and pain-free as possible. So you never want to force it just to get the more motion. So let's say that's what's comfortable. You may lean a little bit, you don't want to arch too much and hurt your back, but you'd lean into this to feel a slight pull, and then this is where we see it takes off from the typical stretch, which people just hold. And they almost always hold where they're comfortable. Most people turn out. So we find that when someone rotates in a nice, safe, and pain-free range of motion, along with the help of gravity, it will help to gain back what's called extension, or the straightening part of the knee. So that's a good thing you can do at home or work or even at school. If you don't have the chair, it's pretty simple. You just do the same concept. You're just going to lean forward a little bit more to feel the pull. And again, that knee may stay partially bent, and that's okay because you just want to feel the stretch. We're not trying to force it at this stage. And then you would just add some nice, easy motion. So like we talked about in another video, motion and some elevation are probably your 2 key things to get the swelling down and to get movement. This can work even if you don't have an acute injury, meaning a new injury. Some people are just stiff all around, and they might even stretch, but they've never thought or done a stretch where they add some rotation. This involves the hip, and it gets all 4 parts of the hamstring stretched out. And if you pull your toe towards you, it'll even get a little more of a calf stretch and what's called a nerve glide, because you're going to stretch some of the nerves, so it feels kind of nervy when you do that. So that helps with the straightening. A second thing you can do, because some people will lack bending and they might have pain with that because of all the swelling in their knee. So you simply just take a folded up towel or a little pillow or something equivalent to that. You stick it behind your knee, so it gives it, basically you're bridging the gap that could be there, and then you're just doing some nice simple oscillations. You may start off closer to the knee joint, and it doesn't have to be forced, always safe and pain-free. And then as you get more and more motion and hopefully less swelling, less pain, you might come down to where you're just above the ankle. So as you push back, you're going to gain more bending or flexion of the knee, but again, it should not hurt. It's always a good idea, we keep emphasizing the injured knee, but it's very good to do the opposite side. I know this sounds like it may not work, but when you do the side that's not injured, one, it gives you an idea of what it should feel like and what your currently injured knee was like before the injury and the swelling and pain. Plus, there is research, you can look this up, of how there's a carryover effect. So when you're working one side, it will help the other side indirectly. And even if it doesn't, and you might not notice a dramatic result with that, it's always good to do each side because you want to see what the other side is like, and you want this to get back to normal as quickly as possible. So typically, if you do about 20 to 30 rotations on each leg for the straightening one in one setting, and about 10 to 20 milking or moving, bending the knee back in each setting 2 to 3 times a day, that would work really well to gain your bending and straightening back in a nice, non-threatening, safe, and pain-free way. So those are some things you can do at home, work, or school, whether it's an acute injury or even chronic. If you've had it for a long time, it'll work in both ways.